Hello, everybody. I got the queen on my channel. You cannot say that strong inspirations don't come at you strong. I got the queen of the Gullah Nation on my channel, Strong Inspiration. I'm enamored that this sister has decided to come on my channel. Please, everybody, watch out. Hit that subscribe button right now. Hit that like button on this video. You ain't got to watch the video. You still hit that like button. Hit the notification bell, because then you will get a bing or something like that when I upload new video. And I'm doing 3-4 videos a week. I'm coming at you strong. I like to say straight, no chaser. And as you might know, I got a movie out. It's called Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. And we talking about how slaves went to college, what racists did to destroy Black business districts. And we talk about the rise of Black business from 1800 to 1960. Unbelievable. 75 minutes long. It's streaming on Amazon, or you can get the DVD there. I got the book to go with the movie called Black Business Book. It's over 200 facts. I just give it to you, let the facts speak for themselves, and then I give you the link of where I found the fact. But I did 200 of them, and it's gonna blow your mind, I'm telling you. And that's also available on Amazon and on my website, inspirationsbystrong.com. Come on, hit that subscribe button, everybody, because we about to do this thing right now. Oh my God, I got the sister on here that is the queen. I like calling her that. That's what she called it. Oh my God, this is gonna be great. So let her introduce herself and tell a little bit about herself so that I know and get it right, so I'm not making it wrong. Go ahead, tell us about yourself.
Peace and blessings, my brother. So glad if you're with Hunter and thing like that. I had a Queen Quet, head from the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. I had a chiefess and head of state for the Gullah Geechee Nation. I'm also the founder of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. So I'm glad if you're with Hunter, and especially since you coming from where folks embrace me in the D. I got a lot of love for my folks up there in the D. Yes,
you know what you're talking about. A little Motown sound.
I got some folks there. The last time I was there, I actually spoke at the Federal Reserve. So it's wonderful to hear about your film and your book. It's good that you're putting out the information to let people know about our Black businesses here in the Gullah Geechee Nation that goes from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, and goes 30 to 35 miles inland to what's called the St. Johns River. We have a lot of Gullah Geechee owned businesses. So I'm happy to be here on the broadcast, especially given that we have ended Black History Month and we're going into Women's Her Story Month, and there's a Black Women's Her Story Month. So it's wonderful to open up the month with you and your audience right here. So thank you.
Open up with you. My sister, I so appreciated that you come on here. And give me a little bit about what is the Gullah Geechee Nation?
The Gullah Geechee Nation is a nation. It's not an organization. So I know a lot of people in the Midwest and, in the Black communities, they think of the Nation of Islam, which is a religious organization, like churches are organizations.
Right.
The Gullah Geechee Nation is a nation, just like the United States, just like France, just like Germany. It is a nation. And so I was voted and elected the head of state for our nation. We have our own constitution. We have our own Wisdom Circle Council of Elders and Assembly of Representatives. And so here we exist on the land that our ancestors were on when it was called a nation within a nation, even during chattel enslavement. And thereafter, where many people associate 40 Acres and a Mule now with Brother Spike Lee, right? Yes. And not realize that actually the land here that is the Gullah Geechee Nation from Jacksonville to Jacksonville that I outlined in these sea islands in the Atlantic Ocean are actually the Gullah Geechee Nation. So when Hunter chilling the kind down young Yeti, people are cracking teeth like this just so, and you say, whoa, what? Oh, are they from the islands? It's right, but not the islands many people think. They always think we're from the Caribbean islands, but we are from the sea islands of the Gullah Geechee Nation in an area called the Low Country, the Coastal Empire, the Golden Isles, and Northeastern Florida. You'll see all those terminologies for this area that is our homeland.
Okay, so you are a descendant of way back Gullah ancestors yourself, right?
Yes, so I am a descendant, just like the million or so plus of us still here in this region that are descendants of the Igbo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yoruba, Gullah, Geechee, Mendi, Temni, Fik, Ibibio, and other African ethnic groups that have been kidnapped and brought over to North America to be enslaved. Many of us also have indigenous ancestry. So Kusabo, Yemisi, Adisto, Cree, so on. Many of us have that bloodline. And what some of your viewers might not be aware of, when they have Afro Seminoles, Black Seminoles that are in the southern parts of Florida, they're in Oklahoma, they're in Texas, they have Muskogo, they're in Tejas, they read about them across the in Mexico. Those are still Gullah Geechees. But what was done was to change the wording and call them Seminole, meaning wild or exiled, because they could not control us. For over 40 years, there was a war called the Gullah Wars, where our ancestors continued to fight against chattel enslavement. And then the ones that stayed here, we now own the very lands on which many of them had been enslaved. And they obtained land ownership through purchase, not through it being bequeathed, like some people talk about with the 40 acres and a mule, because people don't realize that when Special Field Order number 15 was issued, it said to give all the abandoned rice fields in Southwood to Fernandina to the Negroes, no white shall dwell herein. Well, that's the same property my ancestors bought during the Civil War, not after, and we still own that same land. So yes, this area has a consistent connection with Mother Africa because it's in our very DNA, but it's also linked and tied to this land through the indigenous here, and our culture is indigenous to the Gullah Geechee Nation.
I got you. Okay, how about this one? Now if a person came, an enslaved person, there's other term, the terminology, came from Africa, they came to Charleston, South Carolina, and let's say they ended up in Virginia. Right. And they didn't end up in the property area of the Gullah Geechee Nation. They were not considered a Gullah Geechee descendant, right?
That's absolutely right, because Charleston or Charlestown was the #1 enslavement auction block in North America.
Right.
So it would have been a major place of proliferation for people who now are considered African Americans to American Museum at Gadsden's Wharf to actually realize whether their ancestors were sold there and then dispersed northward, like you're saying, to Virginia, or dispersed southward onto more of these sea islands. And so a lot of times, though, in most of the records, most of the proliferation of purchases in the Charleston area were done right here. So people stayed here. If they ended up in Virginia, they probably were sold at a port more northward, probably in Maryland, DC area and whatnot that is today. They were probably from people who landed there, so to speak, because you got to remember, you're talking about a shipment process, right? Our ancestors were considered black gold, black cargo. They were considered just that, cargo. The word chattel is because you're property. So while it was selling rum and sugar, they were selling black bodies, right? And selling all the intellect that went with it. So they made port stops along the way. So you have different ports. It's just that Charlestown was the largest port, but it doesn't mean that every single person that's black in America is Gullah Geechee. It does not mean that at all, because there were different ports all along the eastern seaboard. So one drop-off point is Charleston for a certain amount, and usually based on the kind of African, based on their intellectual prowess, their skills, their ability, that our ancestors were sold. And then they would move up because they might be asked for a different quote unquote breed of African up in Virginia area. And then they're sold up that side. So you have, and then just like if you go to the Gulf side, you have forks in the road in Natchez, Mississippi, another major enslavement area. But the second largest auction block for Africans was New York City's Wall Street and the East River. So when we talk about the African burial ground in New York, it's just outside of where Wall Street was, because it was literally a wall. And so the Africans could work in there, but when they died, you had to be out of there, right? Because now you're of no use, because you are property, you are a tool to be exploited. And so that's the thing. So not everybody's Gullah Geechee, not even in South Carolina, Georgia, or North Carolina, Florida is everybody Gullah Geechee, because if they're mainlanders, they're inlanders, they have different cultures than we do.
I got you. So this is a beautiful thing. So now, as a result of that, you all have this property that was designated yours by the federal government.
Right, and then rescinded. And then they rescinded Special Field Order number 15, which is why when people talk about, 40 acres and a mule, give us our 40 acres and a mule. It wasn't for everybody. It was only from Charleston, South Carolina. Fernandina is northern Florida. So Fernandina Beach, Amelia Island, the last of our sea islands in the Gullah Geechee Nation, was a stopping point. But it started right where you and I was talking about, from Charleston going southward. The 40 acres were to be divided amongst those who were already here. It wasn't for just everybody. And then it got rescinded anyway, because once they assassinated Abraham Lincoln, they were like, we're going to roll all this back. We cannot have this, because they did not want, quote unquote, Negro rule. And so here in South Carolina in particular, we had more representation of us in Congress back during Reconstruction than we have today.
Yeah, right.
As a result, because they went out of their way to try to undo the actual security and stability and self-sufficiency that African people, especially Gullah Geechees, was standing on, literally, because land is power. Of the power and ability and intellectual clout our people have had everywhere that we are.
This question. So now you, how did you know all the history that you know? I mean, was your mother very much involved in the Gullah Geechee traditions and that kind of thing?
My mother and father are both native Gullah Geechees. So both sides of my family are native Gullah Geechees. I grew up here on St. Helena Island in South Carolina. So everybody around me is Gullah Geechee. Our island is still 90% plus Gullah Geechee owned and operated. So it's a lived experience. So that's number one. Number two, in terms of the other aspects, I've traveled to all 50 states in the United States. I started an organization back in the 90s called the African Cultural Arts Network, African with a K, Cultural with a K, ACON, in New York City when I was there. And we would go around and support Black businesses, Black communities, Black townships. We would travel all over the country and do that as well. So when I go now across the world, I do the same. I'm a person that's been reading since I was 3 years old. We ain't gonna talk about how old I am now, but it's been a long time that I've been reading. And the thing that inspired me to continue reading was seeing books of people that look like me. Yeah. So that's how come I know the amount of stories I know, because I always investigate it. I always read, and then I go and I dialogue. That's why I was happy to come on your show, something called Strong Inspirations, because those folks that came before me inspired me to be who I am, or as we would say, who we be down young.
Now you say it's a part of a nation within the nation. Is there a headquarters, or do y'all have an annual festival, conference, convention, any of that type thing?
Okay, everything you listed we have, and it's not annual per se, because with festivals, for instance, there is a festival every month of the year, excluding December and January, in the Gullah Geechee Nation. They happen in different locations in the Gullah Geechee Nation. Our Gullah Geechee Nation International Music and Movement Festival, we move it around the world to different parts of the African diaspora that connect to the Gullah Geechee Nation. And then on odd numbered years like this one, we usually go to an international location. On even numbered years, we bring people to Charleston and South Carolina so that people can engage with us there and then engage along this coastline. We have other workshops, conferences, and things all the time. We have the Coastal Cultures Conference coming up virtually for the first time this year, because normally a face-to-face engaging thing. And if people are interested, they can go to GullahGeecheeNation.com and get all that information to answer all the questions you just laid out.
And the festivals and whatnot are open to the public, right?
Yeah, but we do have, that's why we've done our international festival virtually last year, and we'll do it virtually again this year. So, but whenever we are reopened again on GullahGeecheeNation.com, we will announce it. And yes, people come out, the public comes to those so that they can actually learn about what Gullah Geechee culture actually is, not the tourist version. not the stage story, the packaged version that's sold to you, but actually learn from natives of the Gullah Geechee Nation who we be down here. So yes, that part is public.
I've been to St. Helena Island, hope I'm saying it right, where I went to the Penn Center.
St. Helena Island, right. So Penn, first trade agricultural and normal school for freedmen. Yes.
Now,
my entire
what
family
are some of the other islands that are under the Gullah Geechee corridor area?
Well, wait, now you're switching. The Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor is a national heritage area of the federal government, the U.S. federal government, that runs through the Gullah Geechee Nation. So let's be clear that they're two different things. One is a national heritage area and one is a nation. That heritage area fits in two nations. It fits in the U.S. and it fits in the Gullah Geechee Nation. I'm with Congressman James Clyburn for 9 years of my life to get it established. So now when people come to these islands, there are entirely too many sea islands for me to sit here and name them all for you. If they go to GullahGeecheeNation.com, we have a whole map there. And folks can actually look down the map and see the various sea islands that we have, because we have sea islands all the way through from Cape Fear, to Jacksonville. So I don't want to list them. I can list a bunch of them, but I don't want to list them. Much information listing even islands that don't have bridges has caused displacement of our people. Yes.
Oh, really? Yeah. Is there a particular type of food items that Gullah Geechee Nation that most people know to eat? Anything like that would distinguish, so that I could use and do now to say I'm in recognition of having you on the show?
Shrimp and grits, mullet and gravy over grits. Of course, red rice would be, which a lot of West Africans will come and argue with us and say, oh, this is jollof rice. I said, we call it red rice. This is jollof rice. Peas and rice and peas, they would say in the Caribbean. All of these are staples of our diet. So a lot of seafood,
okay, I got you.
A lot of rice dishes. Yeah, a lot of rice dishes of all kinds. People can eat rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner as well.
Is there a particular type of attire, more African-oriented attire?
No. People wear what they want to wear.
I got you. Is there, as we come to a close, is there a question that or a statement that you want to make that I haven't asked you?
Surely. So the Gullah Geechee Nation has existed since July 2nd, 2000. We're an internationally recognized nation. We have our own flag. We have our own constitution. So if you ever see the flag that says, "We be Gullah Geechee anointed people," with the circle around it and the human bodies intertwined together as a tree, that let Hona know that who we be. We be Gullah Geechee anointed people. And as I always say from the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, Hona must take care of the root for heal the tree. And so if your audience wanted to ask us how to help us keep our culture alive in this community, please go to GoFundMe and support the Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund. Those who don't use GoFundMe, but you use Cash App, Gullah Geechee Nation, and Gullah is spelled G-U-L-L-A-H, Geechee, ain't no I in Geechee for the we. So GullahGeecheeNation.com is our website. $ Gullah Geechee Nation for Cash App to donate to our Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund. And if you want to just support us in general, no matter where you live in the world, you want to join in our fight for our stand for human rights, water rights, and land rights, you can become a member of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. So go to GullahGeechee.net. And we also are on social media. If anybody wants to follow to keep up with everything that's happening, especially those festivals and workshops you asked about, follow at Gullah Geechee on Twitter and Instagram, and they can find Gullah Geechee Nation on Facebook. So any one of those three platforms, we're active on there. And we teach a lot of our story all year. We don't do it just in February. So if people are intrigued by this interview and our short dialogue, they can learn a lot more. So thank you for having me. Definitely, I'm happy that you consider me a strong inspiration.
Oh, yes,
much love and peace to you.
No question. And I'm so happy that you've had me on, that you come on the channel and taking time out of your busy schedule. So everybody, let me just tell you, this is what we do at Strong Inspirations. We bring it to you strong, which stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And I got a graceful sister that was on here today, and she brought it to us strong. And in some instances, straight no chaser. And if you get your grits, get the yellow grits.
And it do.
And with the shrimp in them. That's the way I like mine. Thank you so very much for coming on. I'm gonna put all that in the description of the email. I mean the websites, and we're gonna
Website.
I'm gonna come down when the virus is over. I'm coming down because I like hanging. I like seeing the people. So I'll be there.
That's great.
Thank you everybody for being on.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Again today.
Yeah.
Is there a prayer or something like that you all do? A saying, the slogan that could close us out?
Sure. What we usually do in the Gullah Geechee Nation when we're leaving, we join hands with one another. So I'm gonna just put my hands toward the screen so you and I can connect like that. And what we usually do is we do what's called the mitzvah. May the Lord watch between me and thee while we absent one from another. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being on the channel with Strong Inspirations. And I'll be back. We'll talk some more. Bye-bye.
Peace and blessings, y'all. Stay safe and healthy.